Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating. It's a brilliant concept called the Human Mental Operating System, or HMOS for short, and it is a framework that will fundamentally shift how you view your own mind. Honestly, if you've ever felt stuck in a rut or found yourself wondering why you keep reacting the exact same way to the exact same situations, you are in the perfect place.
Take a look at the phone in your hand, or maybe the one sitting right there on your desk. You know exactly how it works, right? It's got hardware, an operating system running quietly in the background, and apps that pop up to do very specific tasks. But what if your incredibly complicated mind works exactly the same way? Seriously, what if your brain is the hardware and your mind is running an invisible operating system in the background right now?
That brings us to a quote that honestly just hits the nail on the head. If you don't like what your system produces, which application is currently running? Just think about that for a second. We so often believe our immediate reactions, our fears, and our habits are our permanent, set-in-stone identity. We say things like, well, that's just who I am. But this framework proposes something radical. It says those reactions, they aren't you. They're just active software. They're background apps simply executing their code.
Let's move into section 1. The system is running, the autopilot problem.
Okay, let's jump right in and diagnose the first phase of this mental model. The core truth we've got to accept here is that whether you realize it or not, your mental system is always active. It's literally running on autopilot right now. So how do we define the HMOS, or Human Mental Operating System? Well, it's an automatic system that constantly executes installed programs completely without evaluating their quality. Just like your phone, it doesn't judge if an app is good for you, a total waste of time, or just completely full of bugs. It just runs it. And most of the time, we mistake these automatic background programs for our natural personality. We forget that the system is simply launching an app without us consciously thinking about the code. Section 2. How thoughts become programs. The installation process. So, how in the world do these apps actually get downloaded onto our mental hard drive in the first place? Because we certainly aren't born with a fear of public speaking or a habit of constantly doubting ourselves. It happens step by step. Think of passing thoughts kind of like push notifications on your screen. Most of them just disappear. But if you really focus on a thought, it crosses the first threshold and becomes an instruction. If you keep repeating that instruction, it crosses the second threshold, turning into a full-blown program. And eventually, it moves completely into the background, operating totally on its own as a background app. Now, crossing those thresholds doesn't just happen by magic. Any installation requires energy, and in your mental system, that energy is your attention. Attention acts as the raw electrical current powering the whole system. It dictates which thoughts disappear into the void and which ones stick around to become permanent software. Where you place your attention is quite literally what you're coding into your brain. What's really interesting here is how 4 energetic variables combine to make up something called the validation tetrahedron. You need attention, emotional intensity, duration, and repetition to permanently install a program. And sometimes, just one of these variables is so high, it installs an app instantly. For example, a single, highly emotionally intense childhood dog bite can instantly install a permanent fear of dogs background app. Boom, it's there. On the flip side, something with low intensity but super high repetition, like daily negative self-talk, slowly installs a bad app over a matter of years. All right, on to section 3, the mental architecture, system components. To really take advantage of this whole tech metaphor, we need to ground it in reality and understand the architecture of our own heads. It actually breaks down beautifully into hardware versus software. Your hardware is the biological stuff, your brain, your nervous system, your synapses. Your software, on the other hand, is made up of your mental applications, your habits, beliefs, reactions, and mindsets. And here's the massive takeaway. Your biological hardware merely executes whatever software is installed without judging it. It literally doesn't care if the software makes you incredibly happy or totally anxious, it just blindly runs the code. Now, bridging the hardware and software is something called the kernel. In the tech world, the kernel manages internal operations. In your mind, it regulates autonomic functions and immediate physiological survival reactions. Think about it. If a heavy door suddenly slams shut, you jump before you even process what the noise was, right? That is your kernel keeping the system stable, saving your life, or maybe just making you spill your coffee, all without needing a single ounce of conscious input from you.
Section 4. Types of mental apps. Reviewing your software.
Now that we've got a handle on the architecture, it is time for a software audit. Our minds are just packed with different categories of apps installed all across our timeline.
First, looking back, we've got inherited programs installed in childhood, things like family or social norms we absorbed without even knowing it. Then we have obsolete programs, like, say, a fear of making mistakes we learned back in middle school that we're somehow still running in our 30s, even though it's completely useless now. And thankfully, zooming into the present, we also have useful programs, like learning to drive a car or playing the piano. These take massive effort at first, but eventually they just run automatically in the background to save us precious mental energy.
And this brings up a brilliant way to look at mindsets. You see, a mindset isn't just a fleeting mood. It's actually a configuration of multiple programs running together at the exact same time. They act as filters. Take public speaking, for example. One person steps on stage and their system immediately boots up a fear of judgment mindset, filtering every single face in the crowd as a potential threat. Another person steps on that exact same stage and runs a joy of sharing mindset, filtering the crowd as friends. It's the exact same hardware, the exact same event, but completely different software.
Section 5. The software update. Changing the app.
This brings us to honestly the most empowering part of this entire explainer. It's time for you to finally take control of your device. Who is the user? Well, you are. You are the interface point. The user is the one who takes a step back and realizes, hey, I am not the app. I'm just the one holding the phone. You are the observer of the system, totally distinct from the programs running inside it. Recognizing this separation is your absolute superpower.
So the truly crucial point here is understanding awareness. In the HMOS framework, awareness is highly specific. It is the precise moment you stop identifying with an emotion and instead just observe it as a running program. It's that half-second pause where you ask yourself, wait, why am I reacting like this to criticism? In that exact moment of distance, you aren't the software anymore. You're the user, simply looking at the screen.
Once you lock in that awareness, you can actually initiate a software update. The steps are simple, though sure, they take some practice. Step 1, observe. Catch that active program running in real time. Then, step 2, modify. Consciously introduce a new thought or a new response. Finally, step 3, install. You fuel that new instruction with your attention, your repetition, and your emotion until it completely overwrites the old code and becomes your brand new default app. If you take away nothing else, remember this core message. You do not need a new system. You do not need to fight your own brain. Your hardware is completely fine. You just have to redirect your attention and change the app. You literally have the power to force close the software that's draining your battery and open up something that actually serves you. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. Your system is running right now, quietly in the background, exactly at this very moment. You are generating mental energy every single second of the day. So, what are you going to install next? Thank you so much for exploring this framework with me today. Keep observing your system, take back your attention, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.